All right. So I guess we're up to the eighth grade, and I was in the eighth grade. School wasn't so bad. Um, like the bullying kind of stopped. Uh, you know, like you hit somebody in the face with a stall door so many times when they're doing this, they eventually just fucking quit. And right, just, pop her in the face with a fucking stall door, and she quit doing that. Although I'm so bullied, and she's the one crying, she's the one being bullied, but maybe you shouldn't be peeping at other girls while they're in the bathroom. Um, Everybody finds that gross. But the bullying had pretty much, stopped. Um, at school, but I still had all my home life problems. So I guess we're gonna talk about that. And during that time, Stephen was spending a lot of time with Michael Buster, and then Buster, fearing that he would die any day, started telling me all kinds of crazy shit. Um, that all turned out to be very true, and I didn't wholly believe him. Um, and then anytime someone tells you something, you should get three more sources and make sure it's true. And well, I have at least three sources, and find out the truth. Yeah, yeah. Get everybody see what everybody else has to say, and then get those three stories and try to divine the truth out of all the fucking pile of bullshit that everybody's telling you all the time. And because Mark's still around and he's like coming by, and he stopped dressing like himself. Used to, right, dress like himself, but suddenly he's dressed like a fucking politician all the fucking time with fucking khakis and button downs, and he keeps coming up and he's like, about my marriage. He's like, you have to marry that man, Heather. And what? And now they're mad at you because you made your stepdad leave. And I was like, well, first of all, you were the one who taught me to fight, so you only have yourself to blame. And second of all, I don't want to. And thirdly, Michael Buster said I don't have to. Do what about that money? You won't get that money unless you marry that man. And I was like, well, according, what money? What money indeed? And is it even that man's money? No. But anyway, so I was still hanging out with Stephen quite a bit. We had started like our own little two-person book club, and we would like read the same books and discuss. We like to discuss books together, and we like the same movies. And I don't know, we got along well enough, you know. And he never asked me how old I was. And I think my association with Mark, because he certainly saw me with Mark, I think my association with Mark made me look a lot older than I was. And also my reading level, because, we're reading the same books. And so I don't know. He never asked. He never asked, maybe afraid to know, and I never told him how old I was. And then also I actively hid it from him. But as it turned out, he had been in prison with one of my uncles, and not my Uncle Buster, someone else. And then during his time in prison, he had somehow become indebted to my uncle. And I don't know if it was a real debt or just a debt that my uncle perceived, because that's also, a possibility that my uncle had this um, perceived debt. Right. You owe him fucking nothing. I know you a motherfucking thing, and then they think you owe them, every goddamn dime you make. It's how they fucking are. And let's be clear, I don't owe you a motherfucking thing. I don't know you anything. And so Stephen was like under the assumption, since I was at my granny's house all the time, that I lived there. But then one day he came by my house where I was with my mom. And I was like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "What are you doing here? Are you the driver?" And I was like, "Oh, no. She is." And I never said that's my mom. I just said she is. And he said, "Oh." And what are you do? Are you going with her? And I was like, "No, I'm gonna watch the kids while she goes up." And oh, because she was muling drugs. This is when my mom was muling drugs, and he dropped off the fucking drugs for my uncle. And so he's dropping off these drugs, and which I don't know if my mom knew where they came from, but that's where they came from. And is that right? Because that's where the drugs were coming from. And so he's dropping off those drugs that my mom is going to mule up to Michigan. And then also while she's up there, she's been like dating this guy in prison, who is the leprechaun in my story. Yeah, and that's just his name. He's not short. And right. And so Steven's like, "Well, what are you doing this weekend?" And I was like, "Oh, well, nothing. Did you want to hang out?" And so every time, my mom would, mule the drugs, he would come over and, hang out. It was just more of the same. Because we're just, reading books and watching movies and, you know, that's it. And we didn't have, penetrative sex. Um, just a lot of really, I don't know, making out and heavy petting. Right. Yeah, that's what it's called. Making out and heavy petting. Um, right, which eventually progressed into, you know, dry humping and taking baths together. Took a lot of baths. We took a lot of baths together. And then um, more fetishy activities, but still not penetrative sex. And I think that in the back of his mind, he probably knew that I was like crazy underage. I don't think he knew how underage, but I think he knew that I was too underage. And, right. But again, I would, it just lies of omission from my part, and he never asked. So, right. He didn't know, he didn't know how old I was because I didn't say. And then also he didn't ask. Made it really convenient. Um, but then and then apart and aside from working for my uncle, delivering drugs, he had to do other jobs for my uncle, and then also his real job. He did his real job still, and and got paid very little. Didn't His real job didn't pay for shit, and but most of his free time he was spent with me. And then I think that, everybody's like, she's sneaking around with that man. But there's no sneaking involved because we're not doing anything. Um, and it wasn't, uncommon for us to, you know, go out to eat at restaurants in town together. And people obviously saw us together. And one of them was even Mark. There was a couple of times that we went to breakfast at this like diner downtown, and the whole time Mark is standing out at the window like right like that the whole fucking time. And then there was more than a couple of times that they had gotten into like fist fights at the pool hall, the two of them, and which I'm like a fucking girl. I'm like, oh my god, that's so sweet, and I had these two guys fighting over me, but I'm like 12 years old, and right. And then, Mark's like always like back and forth trying to tell me that I have to, do this and do this and do this, to straighten up so I can, marry this man that I had been arranged to. And then my Uncle Buster said I didn't have to. And my Uncle Buster said I didn't have to marry that man if I didn't want to. My Uncle Buster said I could do whatever I want. So I'm just going to take his word for it. I like that better. And, you know, um, so they were like, I might be repeating myself. I don't know. Because they were upset that I wasn't in the videos anymore. I had circumvented, all of that. Once I found out, I just really just circumvented, and there were videos, but there'd be videos of me doing nothing. Oh yeah, take a video of me reading a book. Have at it. Um, Go the fuck ahead. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna do anything that you could, masturbate to. I'm not going to. And and then, Mark's telling me that I have to do these things so that this man, this old man, will still want me. And I'm like, man, I don't want to tell you, I got the two of you fighting over me. I just don't think I need that old man. And and then they always say, well, that money, Heather, that money. If you don't marry that man, you don't get that money. But that money wasn't ever that man's, now was it? Because my Uncle Buster told me where that money came from. And yeah, I didn't have no need of marrying that old man. Really. Um, so that's the eighth grade, and everybody was like real mad. It was, Heather just went wild. But I wasn't really even doing anything. Um, all right, well, okay, maybe I was. I was hanging out with a guy that was like 20 years older than me, and having a I don't know, I don't know. We were just hanging out. We weren't um, we weren't having sex. I wasn't doing anything, not doing anything at all. Reading books and watching movies. Mhm. Right. Playing house with a guy that was like 20 years my senior, and that was that. And they all got kind of been out of shape and mad about it, but I really didn't find it to be anyone's business what I was doing, and I just didn't find it to be anyone's business. And then the thing that they were trying to force me back into was making pornographic videotapes and being groomed into marrying a man who was 60 years old when I was born. So, I mean, you can't, like, I'm your parent, and I say you must go back and make child porn for my good KKK buddy, and then when that's done, you're going to marry this other KKK guy, whether you like it or not. No, 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 no. I have been a parent, and that's not how it's done. So, I don't think I was doing anything wrong, but everyone else disagrees.